Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you right here. Fantasy Life on Sirius XM, Fantasy Sports Radio, breaking down everything we saw in that Monday night game and getting ready for the divisional round. We also have a new mock draft that is live at fantasylife.com. Yes, it is always that time. You can go see what the first round of your drafts might look like for 2026. Going to break down the most chopped players in those guillotines as well. It's a jam-packed day. Adam, how you doing? How's it going?
Doing well. I'm doing better than the Steelers offense.
That was bad. A game was played last night. We could break it down, or we could just say that the Texans won. I don't know. Which one do you want to do?
Yeah, we can talk about it for a little bit.
Okay, I guess so. A game was played last night. The Texans won. The end. No, I'm just kidding. It was probably it wasn't it as gross though as you thought it was gonna be? Or do you think
Yeah, I
it was
thought it was
worse?
going to be a very low scoring game, and it
Yeah.
really was until that fourth quarter when the Texans broke it open. But yeah, it was, you were watching that game and you're like, neither team deserves to win this and move on. This is pretty bad football. And it was
Yeah.
expected. I mean, the total was low, it was like 39 and a half. And if you did take the under, you were feeling great. You did sweat it out a little bit towards the end, but we did not expect much offense in this game from either side.
No, and that's exactly what we got was just all defense and no offense. I mean, CJ Stroud struggled. That's something that we can talk about. Nico Collins went down with a concussion, and that's going to be a big question this week is if he's able to get through the concussion protocol to get ready. They are traveling to New England for the divisional round that Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern. We finally have those times. So yeah, a big 30-6 win. But I mean, for Pittsburgh too, Adam, we can start there on that side. This is 9 consecutive seasons without a postseason victory. It's always anything that we talk about with them is that okay, they always overperform. It feels like Tomlin overperforms with the roster that he's given. They get to the playoffs and they are never a team that we say, yeah, they could actually make it past that first round. It's always who's going to beat the Steelers this weekend. And so it's tough for Mike Tomlin too, because now he ties former Cincinnati Bengals coach Marvin Lewis for the longest postseason losing streak all time among coaches. So of course, we've heard in the last couple of weeks that maybe his seat is a little bit hot. Of course, after the game, all the players, Aaron Rodgers said there should be no reason why his seat is hot. There should be no reason why we're talking about firing Mike Tomlin, but something that we're going to have to watch for. And just the Steelers, I mean, they struggled to move the ball. DK Metcalf was not a factor in this game. And it was kind of everything that we thought it was going to be offensively for them. It was tough. And so if you had Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell in those guillotines, wasn't necessarily, those guys weren't necessarily helpful in this matchup.
Look, I don't think many people expected the Steelers to win. Another team that took advantage of a bad division this year, got into the playoffs, but they just weren't good. And I
Yeah.
don't think anyone is surprised by the result. It's just not a good offense. And, they went against one of the top defenses in the NFL. And the Texans defense alone outscored Pittsburgh with their 2 defensive touchdowns. So, yeah, we talk about this every year, and I think a lot of people think it's time to move on. But they've also not had good teams. It's not like they've
Yeah.
been the 1 seed or the 2 seed and were upset and lost early. They've just got in the playoffs and they just haven't been good enough. It's not a good roster.
It's not, and that's why you have to think, what are they going to do? What do you think they're going to do? You think that I think they're going to keep Tomlin. I don't think that there's a reason to fire him, and I know that Steelers fans listening might feel a different way, but it's kind of the same conversation that we had yesterday where if you move on from a coach like Tomlin who is actually like overperformed in my opinion with those rosters throughout however many seasons, getting a new coach would probably mean not making the playoffs. And maybe that's what some people want to do is a full rebuild to make sure that this team is in a better place so that when they do make the playoffs, they can actually win a game. But I think they end up keeping him.
I'm not sure. I know there's
Mm.
talk that he has a TV deal if he does want to
Oh, that
leave,
would be
maybe take a
fun.
year off. That's certainly possible. So like what McCarthy did. Maybe
Mm.
just take the year off. I guess that's possible. Yeah, I'm not sure what they do.
You have a TV deal in the works too, right? That's you're taking a
Yeah,
year
a
off.
few.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
I've heard rumblings. I'm just waiting for you to let us know.
I didn't
So
want to bring that up now, but yeah, you could speak to my agent about that.
yeah, I figured. I'll have my people. No, just kidding. I'll talk to your people. Your people can call me.
I don't know.
But
Your agent
yes.
seems better than mine, so
Oh,
you got
right.
that big deal. So I might have to
Right. Right.
switch.
The big TV deal. Yeah, we're getting ready, for Adam and I for our big TV deals. But yeah, it's disappointing with the Steelers. And again, they're going into an offseason where they don't know what's going to happen at quarterback. We all figured, it sounded on the broadcast last night, that it was pretty certain that Aaron Rodgers, this was going to be his last go. But Adam, we all know Aaron Rodgers, and maybe this will be drawn out and we won't have a definitive answer for a long time. But I think the other big question that I saw going around is just, if we're talking about overreactions and what we saw this weekend, are the Steelers really just, do you think the Steelers are just a quarterback away, a real quarterback away from winning? Or do you think it's a lot more than that?
I think it's more than that. Arthur Smith is still running this offense, and Peyton Manning was praising him during the Manning cast. So I don't know if Arthur Smith paid him
Oh,
money for that, but that was a little surprising.
yikes.
But no, I don't think it's just the quarterback. I mean, Rodgers clearly, against this defense, not a good matchup here. A lot of short throws. We talked about it. He had to get rid of the ball quickly. He still was sacked 4 times, threw 1 interception. But yeah, I think it's more than a quarterback here.
That's why I don't think it matters who the coach is until they get a real quarterback. I don't think that's even an overreaction. You have to figure out what you can do. And I know roster construction also comes down to Tomlin. Like, that's the other part of it, is that he is definitely part of the blame. So is the management, the ownership. And he did what he could with this offense. Built around a quarterback that averaged a league low 2.59 seconds to throw, had one legitimate receiving threat in DK Metcalf, who they didn't even really use at some points during this season, which is mind blowing to me. But they improved in metrics over the last season, right? Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, and those, quarterback led offenses, but they were still 15th in offensive efficiency, 16th in offensive EPA. And they are going to try and avoid this problem again, but I don't think it matters who's coaching this team. They have to go out and get a legitimate, real quarterback. And so, and just, in my opinion, Adam, used DK Metcalf a little bit differently, because he was, again, a non-factor. So this is one where we've got a lot of big questions for the Steelers coming up this offseason. And we'll have to see, and we'll see probably pretty quickly, at least with Tomlin, what they do and what direction they go in. But on the other side of this game, CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans, they are moving on. Even though we watched this game and we said, should anyone move on from this game? Again, 30-6 win for the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud looked awful, Adam. He just looked so bad. It was one of those games where he was actually pretty good with the turnovers and everything in the regular season, and then all of a sudden it just kind of came crashing down. So he did not play well. He did not lose a single fumble during the regular season. Lost 2 in the first half alone against Pittsburgh, but they were able to finish with that Texans defense, like we talked about before. They can keep them in any game, and if they can score 20 points or whatever it might be to 14 points, usually the defense is keeping them in those. So they're able to move on. Again, they're going to be playing the Patriots, but it wasn't a very good showing from them either.
Oh, it was not. CJ Stroud looked awful. 5 fumbles he had, lost 2 of them, threw an interception. I don't know what it was, but he looked rattled. He looked uncomfortable. He did not look confident. And he is very fortunate that his defense was so good, because he would have gotten a lot of heat had the Texans lost this game. Somehow, uh, you know, 3 turnovers there for the Texans, and they somehow win a game. I know Pittsburgh did turn over once. It was late in the game,
Yeah.
but usually when you lose that turnover battle, especially on the road, you're not going to win by 24. But he can thank his defense for that, because that was pretty bad. And the Texans, a running game showed up, which is something, we have not seen
Yeah.
a lot of. Woody Marks going for over 100 yards for the
Yeah.
first
What was
time this
that?
year. We could have used this in fantasy multiple
Yeah.
times this
Hello.
season,
Welcome.
and we didn't get it. So, but yeah, 19 carries, 112 yards, and a touchdown for Woody Marks, averaging 5.9 yards per carry. Still no receptions, only 1 target. That's the one thing I thought he would be more involved in the pass game throughout the season, and it hasn't happened. But Yeah, and we gotta obviously give credit to the defense here, which is
Yeah,
no
for sure.
surprise. We knew that it was going to be a tough task for the Steelers to really do much against this defense. Again, but this was a 10-6 game with 11:23 left.
Yes. Yes. If you looked at just the final score and didn't watch that game last night, go back and watch or at least read about it because it does. The final score does not show actually what we had, what we all had watched during that Monday game. But yeah, I mean, this defense is how this team can get far, and this defense is always going to keep them in these games like this because I mean, the Steelers converted just 2 of 12 third downs. Rodgers was under pressure all night, had to settle for those dump off passes. At some point, you're like, is anyone going to score ever? Is this just going to be what we look at? And they also held Pittsburgh to 63 rushing yards. So they truly have a championship caliber defense. And if CJ Stroud can get right and play better, I don't know how much worse it could get, but that's famous last words, Adam, because I say that. And then he might come out this weekend and say, oh, you don't think I could play worse? Watch this. But it was weird and it was perplexing. And the ball security for CJ Stroud is something that has to get better because you're not going to be able to win like this every single time. So their defense is going to keep them in these games. And I think the other part for just Houston in general is that we have to watch out for Nico Collins and we have to see what's going to happen with him this week. He was ruled out I believe it was the third quarter to be evaluated for a concussion. Super concerned to see if he's able to progress through the concussion protocol. Again, their game is on Sunday. They are traveling to New England. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Christian Kirk though led all receivers 144 yards in this game. Wasn't on my bingo card, but we'll have to just wait and see if Nico Collins is able to return.
He's not playing. I could tell you that right now.
Well, for my guillotines, can you say he's playing maybe?
Yeah, you should hold them
Okay.
just in
Oh,
case.
perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's not good. That when he whipped his head back, you kind of knew it was not good.
well, then he also had a concussion in week 7.
Yeah.
So now you're asking a short week, and it did not look good. I mean, he had to be carted to the
No,
locker
that's
room.
what I said, oh, ugh, yeah. It was not good.
So yeah, I would expect him to be out again. These things can change, but based on a short week, he already had a concussion this year. The way it looked, I would expect him to be out. And boy, Christian Kirk, where was
Yeah,
this,
what's
man?
going on?
Where
Yeah,
was
that was
this?
your guy this
It
season too,
wasn't.
by
No,
the
no, no,
way.
no. Hold on, hold on. It wasn't my guy. What I did was, I think it was the GST. I had drafted Jordan Addison, who had the 3-game suspension. So I said, all right, like, I don't know, round 11, round 12, I'll draft Kirk because he's healthy to start the year and, could excel in the slot in this offense. So I'll do that. And then he was hurt to begin the season. He missed week 1. And then he did nothing. And I wound up cutting him. But yeah, I was joking last night. I'm like, Christian Kirk's going to finish with more yards than he has the entire season. Then I just had to double check because I don't know how many yards he finished with. He had 239 the whole season. So he did get more than half in the game last night, which is insane.
That's crazy. I was like, I just kept looking up on my screen and I was like, oh, there's Christian Kirk again. Oh, again, he ended up with 9 targets and those 8 receptions. Again, 144 yards and 1 touchdown. The second receiver on this team was Jaden Higgins again. Remember, Nico Collins went out in the third quarter, so he had 39 receiving yards off 3 receptions, 4 targets as well. And this team, that's probably how it's going to go. Xavier Hutchinson was a little bit involved as well. Cade Stover, like Dalton Schultz, of course, was there as well. But yeah, Christian Kirk, you're Adam's guy, Christian Kirk. I think you should pick him up in guillotine leagues.
I am, but I know you have
Oh,
Nico
okay.
Collins, so you might need him
I
more.
know.
So I have a feeling your
I'm a
bid's
little
going to be a
nervous.
little bit higher than mine.
$1,000 for Christian Kirk. Who would have thought?
You should go all in. Like,
Yeah, I
this
think
is where
you
you
know,
make a
why not?
statement. This is
Why
not
not?
a time to be timid.
No,
you have
exactly.
to advance past this week.
Exactly. $1,000 on Christian Kirk, and no one will feel bad about that ever. No, we're just kidding. Don't do that. We're gonna have a list of the most shot players in guillotines, but obviously, I think Nico Collins is gonna be one of the bigger ones, obviously, and we'll talk about a couple of quarterbacks there. But again, Houston Texans advancing past this game, 30-6. It wasn't as good as the score indicates, but it's just survive and advance, Adam, and that's exactly what they are going to do. Did you see the update on our draft that we did? With producer
I did
Ronnie,
not.
producer Brendan. Yeah, okay. So Brendan's actually leading with 166 points right now. He might win this again. we might have let him do this again. Then it's producer Ani with 124. I'm at 99 and you're at 82, but you lost AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. The one that's gonna hurt me is that I lost George Kittle. And I think that's going to hurt a lot of people in the guillotines and in any drafts that they did, because the expectation, even if it was them, not advancing, I thought he was going to get a little bit more than the 1.6, but unfortunately went down with that Achilles injury. So that stings. And Nico Collins. Ooh, I might be done. I think I'm done.
Look, these drafts, we were talking about it before. You kind of have to make a stance taking one AFC team, one NFC. And sometimes it's not the team you predicted because it's a draft and you just kind of have to go with what falls to you. And it is one of those things where you're either going to win it all or it doesn't matter. So we were saying that some people will be done after week one. And, Philly going down, I think people expected them to play at least 2 games for the most part.
I did. Yeah.
There were some people that thought Jacksonville was going to make a deep run and then they go down after one game. And that's just part of it. And it makes it fun and frustrating at the same time. But
mostly
at least
frustrating.
What?
I said mostly frustrating.
Well, yeah, if you don't
So
win, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm not having fun.
when you're picking, 1 or 4 or anywhere, like you just can't get the stack that you want. You're kind of forced to go with what is left to you. And again, I just think spreading it out doesn't work because you're going to get multiple players eliminated every single week.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see who ends up winning that one. Brendan's in a nice spot. He's got Stroud, Kyron, Puka, Devontae, Dalton Schultz.
Well, it's the Rams. That was my team I wanted to go for, but I couldn't pick them.
You were
they were all
picking
gone.
The 4th spot. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
That's what happens. Brendan did win this last year picking 4th, though. I will say that. There is a chance for you.
So Brendan is rigging this. Got it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And Ani has Higbee, Stephon Diggs, JSN, CMC, Stafford left. That could actually go pretty far if you think the Rams and Seahawks are going to win that one this week as well. Yeah, George Kittle is it's going to haunt me.
Well, I mean,
in all these formats.
You were probably only expecting 1 game from him, though.
Yeah, but it was a little bit better than 1.6, I guess. That's what I wanted.
Well, that's unfortunately what happens.
I drafted JSN in 1 guillotine though, and I made it through. So I'm happy about that. I can be excited about that. And we're gonna again go through the most chopped guillotine players here in a little bit. But first, want to finish off everything that we saw in the wild card weekend because we did not talk Chargers Patriots, but just that recap. And then we've got our first mock draft of the season for fantasy football. I want to break down what your first round of drafts for 2026 could look like. It is a lot different, I will say that, than what we were seeing in 2025. We're going to break that down here coming up next. This is Fantasy Life right here, breaking down everything that we saw and finishing up with the wild card weekend. And of course, getting you ready for 2026 fantasy drafts. It's never too early, and ready for the divisional round of games. We finally know the times, we know the matchups, and it's going to be another great weekend of football. But Anna, before we get into that, I know the one team, because I heard about it from a couple people, the one team we didn't talk about yesterday in depth was the New England Patriots. And I promise you that wasn't intentional. It's just the way that it broke. And we talked a little bit about just Justin Herbert and how bad, the offensive line is awful. They weren't able to get anything going. And I will say too, when you look at the Patriots in this game, it wasn't necessarily a clean, amazing game from Drake May either. I know MVP candidate is something that we've been talking about all season long with him. But he was fine in the first half, but he was a lot better in the second. Ended up finishing 17 for 29 passing, 268 yards and a touchdown. Had his first postseason victory. Ramondre Stevenson also played a good role for this New England team as well. Rushed for 53 yards, 10 carries, 75 through the air. So this is another team where going to be a tough matchup this weekend. I'm really excited to start breaking that one down for the Patriots at home against a tough Texans defense. But overall, they were able to get things done against the Chargers defense is nothing to brush off. And it was, overall good victory.
Yeah, May was a little shaky, but made plays when he needed to. He was sacked 5 times. Another good game from Ramondre Stevenson. He continues to look good. 10 for 53 on the ground and 3 for 75 through the air. So New England did enough to get the job done. It wasn't the best performance for sure, and they'll need to be better against that Texans defense. They are at home. The defense played well, but the Chargers, offensive line is a major problem. And Herbert didn't play well either. When he did have open guys, he didn't see them. He took 6 sacks. He took a beating. He was under pressure a lot. And I think what happens too is when you are under constant duress, sometimes you perceive pressure that's not there, and you're bailing the pocket constantly. And I think that's what happened with Herbert, because it was the offensive line, but he also did not see open receivers and didn't make good throws. So now 0-3 in the playoffs, and that talk begins about Herbert.
Yeah, I think that talk has already happened. We had a conversation yesterday if Justin Herbert just doesn't have it in the playoffs, because at some point we have to look around and say, yes, this game was tough. You had a bad offensive line, but what happened with those 4 turnovers last year? They get the one in 2023 as well, or 2023. Yeah, 2023 as well. So I don't know. Those conversations are already happening, and it's one that, of course, it's more of a overreaction than anything else. But you have to think about it. And what do the Chargers need to do to make sure that they can get over that hump? Obviously, it starts with the offensive line not missing both of those tackles, for most of all of the season. And then I think with the Patriots, I mean, is it an overreaction to say they still haven't beaten a good team this year, or is that kind of put to rest now with this Chargers defense? Because I looking back, kind of still don't think that's an overreaction. They're still winning, though. You have to win, and this is what we say, Adam. You have to win the games that are presented to you. I know that, the 49ers had the easiest strength of schedule coming into 2025 season. And here they are still in it. And the Patriots, while you can look back at their schedule and say they haven't played a tough team and you can add this Chargers team to it, they're still here. But I don't think it's an overreaction to say maybe they still haven't beaten anybody necessarily good.
I mean, they beat Buffalo once, but you could say that about a lot of teams. I just think the AFC is weak. I mean, and watching that game last night, it shows. I mean, what were the 2 worst games of the weekend? Patriots, Chargers, Texans, Steelers. 4 of the AFC teams. So I think it's an AFC thing. I do think the Patriots are very good, though. And Drake May, too, young quarterback, making his first playoff start. So, yeah, it's easy to say, they haven't beat anyone. But I think you could say that about most of the AFC. I just don't think the AFC is very good.
That's true. And now they get a Texans team that's coming in on I believe it's 10 games now. 10-game winning streak for the Texans, which looking back, I guess I just kind of was overlooking, not them in general, but that win streak coming in. And an even tougher defense than the Chargers. So it's just survive and advance. It doesn't matter if it's an ugly win, like I think it was, or Patriots fans felt it was for the majority of that game, but it's just survive and advance at this point. And so that's what the Patriots are looking to do. I think that we see, and it's a first postseason game for Drake May as well. I think you shake off a little bit of the nerves, and you're able to look and say, okay, maybe they're going to be able to kind of do this again. So it's gonna be a fun game. I'm excited for this weekend's games in general. But Houston, what did they open at? Well, Texans have to be underdogs in this one.
Yeah, Patriots are favored by 3.
Oh, by 3. 41.5 point total.
Yes. That's the lowest total of the games this weekend, which is to be expected. Although we did see Seattle, San Francisco 13-3 first time.
That's what I was going to say. I was surprised that one wasn't a little bit more. I see that one at 40. Oh, it opened at 46.5. It's down to 45.5 now.
Yeah. I mean, you'd expect Shanahan to make adjustments based on what they saw last, but not having Kittle is pretty big.
Yeah, not having Kittle is going to be a little bit tough, but as a Seahawks fan, I will just say, get better, George Kittle.
Hey, look, here's the bottom line. There is no excuses for Seattle.
None.
They have to win this weekend. They're getting a short week.
Schedule. Yes, exactly.
A short week where the 49ers played Sunday, now have to play Saturday. They lose George Kittle. Mm-hmm. They've had a lot of injuries. Who knows if Ricky Pearsall will be back. So Seattle had the rest. They're home. They just dominated this team. There's no excuses.
There's not. I couldn't. I mean, I guess we can believe it because it's the NFL with how the schedule worked out. But when they showed us the games before the Monday night game, it was after the Sunday night game, and they didn't have the times, but they had the games. I said, really? Seattle on Saturday and the Rams going with the Bears on Sunday? I don't know. I kind of shook my head and I said, okay, well, yeah, the Seahawks will start breaking this game down, but they do have to just get it done in this game. Maybe the under is a good bet there. 46.5 seems a little bit high, but we'll start breaking down those lines, breaking down what we expect in this one. And again, Patriots had a good enough game to get them through that first one. We'll see Drake May in another matchup here this weekend as well. I did want to say, too, we've got our first mock draft because we're talking about Drake May, how many of these players, based on what they showed us in 2025, move their stock up or down. And so this is from Chris Allen live at fantasylife.com. I will say it's pretty much where I have a lot of my rankings. Puka Nacua, though, is one where he's the 103 this year. He was going, or this year, I should say, in this mock draft, he's going as the third pick off the board for 2026 drafts. Last 2025, we saw him maybe fall into the middle of the second round. I know you got him, Adam, in the GST because of that, because we were hearing Matthew Stafford and his back injury. What's it going to look like with Puka Nacua? How's that going to affect him? It didn't, and he had an incredible season. And so I know that people might go back and forth between him and Ja'Marr Chase, but I think Puka Nacua at the 103 in this mock draft completely makes sense.
Yeah, we know Puka's going to go very high. I mean, you could make a case for Ja'Marr Chase too, because Chase really didn't do anything wrong this year for him to fall. I mean, Joe Burrow missed time, and really the only difference with Chase was the touchdowns dropped in a big way. He went from 17 to 8. But Burrow did miss time. We did see the yards go down just a little bit too, but 2 less receptions than the previous year. He played 1 less game. He had 185 targets this year. He had 175 2 years ago. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Chase get back to what he did last year, similar numbers, and then 12, 13, 14 touchdowns. That would not be a shock at all.
Yeah, I think assuming a normal offseason for Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase. I know Joe Burrow is always the question mark there with his health. Feels like it's every other year. But even when Joe Burrow went down, and again, shout out to Chris Allen on this, live at fantasylife.com, this article, but the target rate and the PPR points per game weren't awful, right? With Joe Flacco, 30.5% target rate, 21.5 points per game. And then with Jake Browning in there, still good 27.3% target rate, and then 15.1 points per game. So I can understand if people want to flip Ja'Marr Chase, if they want to flip Ja'Marr Chase with Puka Nacua. But there's 3 receivers right there in a row because it goes Bijan Robinson at 1, Jahmyr Gibbs at the 102, then Puka Nacua, Ja'Marr Chase, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I can see people, depending on how it ends out with JSN, though he had a great season where maybe they want to go and get him a little bit higher than that. But you had a 35.8% target share. The air yard share was there, the yards per route run, and everything just worked out between him and Sam Darnold. They had a great connection, but those 3 are going to be the top receivers to go in drafts for this coming season.
Yeah, I mean, it usually goes for people based on what they saw last year, and those were the top guys. And yeah, JSN just a massive bump in target share, going from 24.1% to 35.8%. Almost every time they dropped back, it was to JSN. Teams knew it was coming. They still couldn't stop it. Just an insane season for JSN.
Yeah, it was good. He's got 5 5 running backs going in the first round as well. So again, it's Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, which I think is pretty consensus. It's probably going to be what a lot of people look at. We've talked about taking, an elite running back in the first round, though, and anchoring your team to them. Devon Achane going at the 107, James Cook at 109, Jonathan Taylor at the 10 spot, and then he actually has Trey McBride at 12. So those are the running backs you're looking at. I think Trey McBride's going to be the one where people either do it or they don't. I understand putting him in the rankings where he is a top 12 play. I don't know if I'm going to have him there. I might put someone else in that spot, but it's understandable because Trey McBride had a great season and he's just an elite tight end.
Yeah, I think when you get to that area, look, it is very difficult to take a tight end that early because you need it to go right, because if it doesn't, you're in massive trouble. It's not like other positions, because if you are taking McBride at the end of the first round, you're likely not taking a backup tight end if you're in a shallow format. And if you do take a backup tight end, it's more than likely you're taking them in the final couple rounds. Say you're like in a draft with 18, 20 rounds. If you have McBride, you're not even thinking about a backup tight end till late. So
yes.
And then you need this to repeat. And a lot of it came with Jacoby Brissett. He was still good with Kyler Murray, but the touchdowns weren't there. So it's tough. But when you look at what's there at the end of the first round, like who do you take over him that you feel comfortable with? Is it like Drake London, Rasheed
Yeah.
Rice, Nico Collins? Like that's what you have to look at. Like, do you feel good about those guys taking him over McBride?
Yeah, and I think the stats when you look at the usage stats too, comparing him to some wide receivers though, I mean, after Brissett took over, you had an insane target share. You had a greater target share than Puka Nakua, and only Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamar Chase had more passes thrown their way. So we talked about this with Trey McBride. You look at Trey McBride and everyone else, he was 100 points ahead of the second best tight end this year. I mean, he was elite in every single way. So if you had him on a lot of those teams, you probably went far because of him. And I think, like you said, honorable mention, I think you could put, and we saw Chris put in here, an honorable mention for guys like Chase Brown, Chris Olave. I don't think Chris Olave sneaks into the first round at all. I think Drake
No.
London will be right there. I do think there is a case, but it all depends on what Patrick Mahomes does and looks like. I think there is a case for Rashee Rice, but I think it'll be Drake London as the closest guy. And yeah, I don't think Chris Olave sneaks in, but he did have a great season. Chase Brown is interesting, but I still think he's going to be at the turn if we're talking about running backs.
Yeah, and also when you look at McBride, like his numbers were very similar to last year.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest
Just with
difference,
touchdowns.
yeah, he goes from 2 to 11 touchdowns. Yeah, the targets did go up. He played one more game than the previous year. Uh, the yards were not that far off. Yards per reception actually went down. He went from 10.3 to 9.8. His yards per game went from 71.6 to 72.9. His catch percentage was essentially the same, 75.5 to 74.6. Yards per target went down from 7.8 to 7.3. So it was pretty similar. It was just he found the end zone more. So what happens if it goes back to 4 touchdowns next year?
Why do you have to throw that
I
out there?
have to throw out
I
every
know,
angle of
I
it.
know.
That's all.
That's why I always get, I think in my draft strategy, I rarely take a tight end in the first round. And I know you do the same thing too.
Yeah, I didn't do it. Like I didn't take Bowers this year. The
So yeah.
earliest usually is round 4. Like I did take George Kittle this year in a couple
Mhm.
leagues in round 4. Obviously, it was disappointing. You were like in the one of the leagues I lost Kittle, I was able to get Jauan Johnson and Fannett.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you were able to
That
fill
wasn't
in
bad.
while he was out, but then again, Kittle getting hurt in the semis ended my season.
Yeah. It's listen, if he goes back, because I think when I'm looking at the Arizona Cardinals, because they're looking for a head coach right now, and I do think Kyler Murray stays. I think Kyler Murray might be a selling point for some coaches where they say I can have him and I can fix him and we can start, not from zero. But again, it just depends on who they hire and what the conversations are going into the 2026 season. But a big one, and that's going to impact Trey McBride, and I think where he gets taken, depending on if they move on from Kyler Murray and who they bring in because of that, it's going to be big questions that could kick him outside of the top 12 in drafts. I want to keep going through just some fantasy impacts of the season. I see who else could sneak into the top 12 in drafts for the first round. We're going to break it down and more of reactions from Wildcard Weekend here coming up next. Fantasy Life to subscribe to that newsletter 100% free. Same with our articles, which you can go and check out. Again, we've got great information. If you're in those guillotines, we're going to be breaking down the most chopped players from the weekend, how much we should be spending, because we've got $1,000 worth of fab, how much we should be spending on some of these guys that are back in on the waiver wire. And if you missed out for the first weekend, don't worry, you can do it again. We are starting up new chopped leagues. So it starts from the divisional round, goes all the way through the Super Bowl. You can do that with us. You can go join leagues right now. You can start your own private league, guillotineleagues.com to go and do that. I'll start one today so I can write an article about it, Adam. I still think Puka Nakua is going to be the 101 to go. And now that you have JSN back in there, probably JSN at 2. This is for guillotines again, not overall rankings for 2026. Those will probably be the top 2, though.
What about Josh Allen?
And then Josh Allen.
Oh,
You think Josh Allen should go 1 if you were drafting
no,
today?
not 1. I think I would definitely take Puka, but
And then Josh 2.
you can make a case for that, right? I mean,
For
especially
sure.
now that to me that was their toughest game in the AFC. When I looked at it, I said, all right, whoever wins this Jacksonville Buffalo game is probably going to make a deep run. And I know the Bills are underdogs this week in Denver by 1.5, but come on, like they're probably going to win that game. Well, I think that you may disagree, but
No, I agree with you. You've been on that with the Broncos this year. You've
and
said that
so if
from the beginning.
they win that game and then it's New England or the Texans, I mean they have a good chance to get to the Super Bowl. With
For sure.
JSN, I mean you expect them to win this week too. And
But maybe
I
a
know
lower scoring game. That's what
yeah, you probably expect the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl. I mean, they are
I expect a
favored.
Super Bowl.
They
Yeah.
are favored.
Are they? See, that makes me they're favored in Super Bowl odds. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, listen, the defense has been so dominant. They feel like the most put together team. Especially, here's my thing, Adam, with the Seahawks, and we will continue breaking these down. But if we have if they look at what we saw against the 49ers last week, and that run game is actually put together like that, they feel like the most complete team out of anyone in the playoffs right now. Like they feel like they could be the most complete team. We saw a great game from Kenneth Walker. Zach Charbonnet was obviously still involved, but yeah, again, they have to get past San Francisco. It's hard for both of these teams. They know each other very well. But yeah, I'd still take JSN, I think, 1. But I understand taking Josh at number 2 as well.
Well, according to my source, so we were
Oh,
talking
okay.
about why the Seattle game was put on Saturday.
Mm.
I was told that they did that in case they lose. It gives you a day, so you would be okay to return to the show on Monday.
You
If it
know,
was Sunday
that's a
night,
good call. Ugh,
if it was Sunday
that's a
night,
good
there wouldn't
call.
be
I'll be
enough
so
lasagna to
sad.
get you back on Monday.
I'll be so sad. Yeah, it's a good call because it's Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7, 6, 5 my time.
So,
So
like,
yeah, I'll have enough time.
so how does that work for you? Because
What?
after a
go.
game like that, like whether you
Just go
win
to
or lose, like how do you sleep? So does that affect the bedtime?
Now, it definitely affects it because now in the playoffs, it's a little bit different. It's kind of like when I was rooting for the Mariners, I could not go to sleep right away.
Yeah, you
And
can't.
in
Like
those games, I
I'm
had multiple games
I'm
of
not
like
even a
extra
fan of
innings.
any of these teams.
Yes.
And
It
like
takes me a while.
especially after Saturday, like you can't go to sleep after that. Like
No.
you're just adrenaline is flowing.
I could barely go to sleep after the Thursday night game against the Niners, and I was out with that one. Or was that a Thursday?
No, it wasn't a
No,
Rams,
that was
Seahawks Rams.
oh, that was
the
yeah.
overtime.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, that one was horrible. I could not go to sleep after that one. And then the last game the Seahawks played to get the 1 seed against the 49ers. Couldn't sleep after that. So it's a good thing we'll have all Sunday. And we've got 2 games Sunday to and the Sunday games are weird times too because it's
3
3
and
p.m.
6:30.
Eastern and then 6:30.
Yeah, same. That's just what they do for the AFC and NFC championship
Yeah.
as well. But yeah,
Yeah,
Seahawks
so-
are plus 270 on DraftKings. The Rams are plus 320. Patriots plus 600. Bills plus 650.
See,
Broncos plus 700.
I'd have the Bills ahead of. Wouldn't you have the Bills ahead? I'd have the Bills at 3.
I think the reason they do is because they have Denver as a slight favorite this week. So,
That has to be 1.5.
but then again,
though.
they have Denver lower in
gotta
the
be
Super Bowl
close.
odds.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess because New England, they feel New England has a better chance to win this week, and they have home field. I don't know.
It's fun. I mean, I'm really the one that I'm interested in the most, obviously, besides the Seahawks, is Chicago at home playing the Rams, because those are 2 teams that do not know each other. I see he's 3.5, right, for the Rams right now, favored.
Yeah, I think
On
it
the road?
opened at 4.5
Oh,
and
wow.
was
Okay.
bet down. The weather is definitely an issue. It's going to be extremely cold.
gonna
I
be
mean,
cold.
it could feel like close to 0. So,
Probably isn't going to feel good for that finger for Stafford. I know he
No.
said he's okay, but anytime any team goes in banged up, especially your quarterback, and that was his throwing hand too with the index finger. So it's not going to feel great.
No, it's going to be tough though for the Bears to stop this Rams offense. And again, the Bears might
Yes.
want to realize that you do have to play the first half.
What? Are you sure?
Well,
think
it
they're
hasn't
okay.
mattered to them, but at
Maybe
some point,
maybe they do that intentionally so they can just be like the what are the people calling them, the cardiac bears, so they can come from behind, win, and that's how they get it done. That's
know
the
what's gonna
highest total
happen,
on the
though?
weekend too. 51.
if it's 21-3 at the half, everyone's going to bet the Bears money line.
Probably.
And they probably know, the books know this by now, they're going to give us crappy odds.
Because were you gonna bet the live on the Bears? I think
No,
you
but
would.
I was joking when my friends watched. I said, if the Bears win this game, I'm going to have to put money on them to win the Super Bowl.
The over might hit though in this game, 51.5. I feel like this is one of the only games this weekend where
It
that might
should, as
actually
long. Yeah,
happen.
look, it's just going to be cold. It doesn't look like there's going to be any precipitation. So usually that's not that big of a deal.
And wherever the Texans are, bet the under. No, I'm just kidding. But that's at 41.5 as well. I mean, they looked bad. They looked bad. We know this
Yeah, and that
defense
defense is just physical, punishing. So yeah, that should be the lowest scoring game of the weekend.
should be. I don't know. San Francisco Seahawks though might take the cake from what we saw the last time, but we'll see. Speaking of, I do have some fun stats just to finish up our wild card talk, because obviously we are now moving into the divisional round. But I do have some stats that I saw about Matthew Stafford, about Drake May as well, that I want to talk to you about before we get into the water cooler. We're going to do that here coming up next. This is Fantasy Life with you on this Tuesday. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Adam, please tell me. We're talking through the divisional round. But if I asked you what Sam Darnold's odds were to be MVP of the Super Bowl, what are we at? What?
I looked it up. That's why I was shaking my head, because we were having a discussion during a break.
Okay, tell me.
So on DraftKings, the Super
Right.
Bowl MVP favorite right now is Matthew Stafford at plus 400. Next is Sam Darnold at plus 475.
Lock in.
Please tell me, who is putting their hard-earned money on Sam Darnold to win the MVP of the Super Bowl?
And all my family, all my
You're
friends.
biased, though. You're a fan. Like, you're
1,000%.
hoping. You're putting that money, and you're like, I'm
manifesting.
hoping.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious, actually.
It really
Who's next? Who's after him? Drake May?
No, Josh Allen. Well, Allen and May are
Allen.
both plus 700.
Who's the first offensive or defensive player? That's
it's
non-quarterback.
Non-quarterback is Puka plus 1,500, JSN plus 1,800. They're the only two in the top 8 that are not a quarterback.
Okay. Sam Darnold MVP. It has a nice ring to it, though, don't you think?
Well, actually, this is it makes sense because Seattle's favored. After the top 8, Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker at plus 5,000.
Yeah. Could you imagine a Charbonnet MVP after everything that we've talked about with him in fantasy?
Yeah, he has like 2 rushing touchdowns and 110 total yards in the Super Bowl.
Just someone that annoyed everyone all season long. Both of them annoyed people. You couldn't play them. That's the thing. You weren't necessarily playing them. Maybe in a deeper format, you had to flex one of them, but you weren't happy about it. That's hysterical, though, with Sam Darnold. You never know. You never know. If they're favored to be Super Bowl champions, it kind of makes sense. I will say, let me finish off with these stats, because I did find some of these stats. Eagles fans, plug your ears, because you remember when Jauan Jennings completed that pass just a couple days ago. So he's the first player in NFL history with a perfect 153.8 passer rating in multiple playoff games for the same team per Next Gen Stats. And this one killed me a little bit. Jauan Jennings completed more passes over 15 air yards, which was 1, than opposing quarterback Jalen Hurts did all game. He was 0 for 5.
Yeah. Another stat, too, is in the postseason, Jauan Jennings' 2 passing touchdowns matches Justin Herbert's 2 in his 3 games starting.
Boo. How awful is that? Jauan Jennings. It's pretty funny. He broke a tie with Manning for the most perfect passer rating playoff games by a Tennessee alum. We could keep going. This is fun.
Yeah, look.
Jalen Hurts, come on.
He was a quarterback coming out of high school. So
yeah, he was, actually.
They drew up some plays. That was a great catch by McCaffrey. He had to adjust to that.
That was a fun one.
Because usually those plays, a lot of times, can be a backbreaker. Because the skill position player doesn't know when to throw it away. But they designed that well, and McCaffrey was wide open.
413 touches, the most of any running back for Christian McCaffrey. And I think, if we're nitpicking what we think the first round could look like, he could go probably 3. If people really do want to double back on him. It's just going to be, we're going to have the same exact conversation in this offseason, Adam, that we did coming into 2025. It's going to be, I feel, less about health, or maybe some people will point it to the health, like, oh, he's not going to be able to stay healthy. But I think more it's going to lean towards the touches that he had this year. And if he can come off, especially if they continue to go far on this playoff run, it's going to be the same conversation that we had with Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, exactly.
He went deep into January. He went deep into February. Is he going to be able to hold up after all those touches, not even in the regular season, but also in the playoffs? It's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, this is a career high. The last time he had 400 touches was 2019. And you know what happened the next season? That's when he was 23. He played 16 games that year. You know what happened the next year? He played 3 games.
Yeah.
And every time we've seen McCaffrey have these big workloads, he barely plays the next season. So, Yeah, people will be split. You're going to be people like, nope, I am not touching him. And then others are going to say, well, he's healthy. We said this last year. Those probably that took him and won a championship with him might go right back to him. But yeah, he's going to be tricky because the thing is, if you're sitting fifth or sixth, you go, all right.
It's going to be right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have the same thing because you know what I didn't do this year? I did not draft Christian McCaffrey, and that hurt, Adam. And we're going to have the same because he's going to be sitting right there in the middle with Devon Achane, probably with JSN, James Cook, Jonathan Taylor. And you're going to have to make a decision. And it's going to be tough because of what we saw this year. But the touches, we have to be careful about that. We're going to continue on. It is about that time for the Fantasy Life Water Cooler, going through the news and notes that you need to know heading into the divisional round. We're going to do that here coming up next. It is about that time for the Fantasy Life Water Cooler. News and notes that you need to know so you can stay up to date, not only today, but this whole week, this whole offseason. FantasyLife.com is also the place where you can do that. We've got the newsletter. We've got all of our articles free as well. So make sure you go and check those out. We've got guillotines and every article that you need to know who to bet on this week, or who to pick up, I should say, who to spend your fab on. And of course, getting you ready for more Guillotine Leagues. So again, if you missed out on the first week, doesn't matter. You can join us this week if you want to. I'm going to make sure to put out some more Guillotine drafts. Maybe Adam will stand us up again. I do not know. But maybe. But you can still draft. So guillotineleagues.com. Just obviously it's going to be a smaller field of players and a smaller team. So again, if you draft this week, it'll still go and run through the Super Bowl. But you can play your friends. You can join leagues right now at guillotineleagues.com to go and check it out. By the way, Adam, my dad texted me, said, please don't bet on Sam Darnold MVP.
He's smart.
Don't even put a nickel on it. Like, you can't bet on that. I said, don't worry. I'm not doing that. But it would be fun, don't you think? It would be great. Okay, I'll say this out loud. I will buy a Sam Darnold jersey. I will spend my money on that if he wins MVP.
If he leads you to a Super Bowl, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we'd have to do that. But
okay. What if he does not lead you to a Super Bowl? Like, you win the Super Bowl, but he's carried by the rest of the team. Then what?
No. Then I don't think he deserves a jersey, do you?
Okay. Yeah, like,
I don't know. I don't think
the numbers for Darnold have not been great lately.
No.
The last 4 games, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks.
Yeah.
And he's gone against a bad San Francisco defense, a bad Indy defense. Even the Rams defense has not been good. Like, they were shaky against Carolina. So it's not really opponent driven here.
Yeah, no,
but they've also
really good.
I mean, the last 2 games they were ahead pretty easily. That's the thing. If you get that game script where you play from ahead, then it's a little bit easier. You don't need him to do too much. But you do give him credit, though. That Rams game, it did start off bad, and he did come back and lead them to the overtime win.
I'm hoping that game is the one that propels him this postseason, because I know winning against the 49ers was big as well. But I think that game in prime time, because he had those 2 awful picks too. Remember that?
Yeah.
And we sat back and we said, woof, this is going to be exactly how it goes. And he, being able to, I should say, overcome that mentally, I feel like that was a hurdle that I was happy that he was doing that in the regular season than the playoffs, because I think it would have been a different story. But that's going to be the biggest question, what we talk about all week, because the Seahawks have such a dominant defense and they have an advantage at Lumen Field. I think that is fully 100% an advantage playing at home for any team this weekend. So I think it's Sam Darnold just proving that he's learned from last season, and it's making sure that he not only trusts everyone around him, but he has to trust himself. And so that's what's going to be the big thing here. And I think this is a tough weekend for the Seahawks and the 49ers as well, because they know each other so well. So, when we have games like that, we get, the low totals like we saw a few weeks ago. So I'm not spending money. Don't worry, to my dad, I'm not spending money on MVP, but I will say if he does lead them to a Super Bowl and gets MVP, then I'll get a jersey. How's that? I feel like that's totally fair.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at that point, he delivers the championship, and it doesn't really matter what he would do the rest of the way.
No, I don't care.
Even though fans, though, it doesn't feel like it. Like, look at the Eagles fans, right? They won a Super Bowl last year. They've won a couple, and they just hate their team now.
See, with Seattle, we'll be nice, I think. We'll be like, okay, this is good. This is nice. We need to get revenge after, we were supposed to be back-to-back Super Bowl champions, mind you.
You were supposed to be?
Well, do you remember that game when they
Yeah,
should have run it?
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we're just happy to be here. That's all I'll say. Anyway, we're in the water cooler. We're gonna be breaking down these games for the weekend to come here, but just a little bit more news. I mean, we're really on Harbaugh watch right now, Adam. So you're gonna see a ton of teams, beginning to get interviews in with him. I think he has a short list as well. I haven't seen it come out of what teams are on that list. But we're really just kind of waiting and seeing what Harbaugh's going to do this offseason, because it feels like he is the best head coaching candidate out there, the one that all these teams want. I know he's been really linked to the Giants. Like, the Giants are really trying to woo him. He completed a couple interviews, or one interview, I should say, John Harbaugh did yesterday with the Falcons. I think that was the first one that we've heard where he has formally spoken with the team. But I think the betting favorites too are the Giants to land him. So we'll see what magic they can come up with to try and get John Harbaugh.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Giants, they got the young quarterbacks, some young pass
Yeah.
rushers, Malik Neighbors. So when you look at the teams, if you believe in Jackson Dart, that looks like a team that Harbaugh could be most interested in. But it makes sense for him to take his time. He knows a lot of pretty much any team with a coach opening is after him. So yeah, it could take a little time here.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants, for as much as they get crap from you, they're not in a bad spot, really. There's a lot of things that have to go right, and obviously there are still holes in that roster, but offensively, starting with Jackson Dart, who really did show flashes. I mean, and that's not even for us in fantasy, that's just in general for the NFL. He did show flashes, and it feels like he could be that quarterback of their future. We had a ton of injuries with that team as well. Malik Neighbors went down early in the year, and then you had Cam Scattaboo. But imagine that team, and they were still able to kind of, well, I wouldn't say survive, but sustain good play for us in fantasy football. Wan'Dale Robinson was someone that really outperformed his ADP. But if you have, a coach like Harbaugh in there who's able to, hopefully, put a good staff around him, help develop Jackson Dart, this team could be interesting in 2026. I think there's still a team that we're going to be drafting probably early. Or not
Yeah,
really early. We'll just have to see where the injuries take us, I guess, the rehabs.
yeah, Malik Neighbors, obviously, if he's healthy and good to go, he'll be going very early. But the Giants did have a lot of games this year where they blew it late. You could
Mhm.
say it came down to coaching, but they were competitive a lot against a lot of good teams. Obviously, remember that epic collapse in Denver where
Yeah, that was
Denver
awful.
scored mostly all their points in the fourth
Bodix had
quarter.
crazy fantasy points that game too. It's nuts.
Yeah, but they had a lot of games that they could have won. They had a lot of one possession losses where it came down to blowing it late. Obviously, the defense wasn't good, but there are some intriguing pieces here. When you look at some of the other teams that he can be considering, the Giants look to be in a good spot.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun team for 2026. I'm going
I
back to
hope
Cam
not.
Scattaboo. Why?
Come on.
I know
Why?
why. I know why. I know why. Cam Scattaboo, I'll take the dip. Malik Neighbors, I think depending on where, like, obviously it's really important for us to keep in mind that he's coming off that bad injury, but that was earlier in the year. So I think depending on what his rehab tells us, and if he's able to, go to OTAs, go to training camp, he would sneak. Don't you think he would sneak back into the first round of drafts?
Not for, I think, second. But a
Okay.
lot will depend on the rehab and where he's at. I know he made a comment like, "Yeah, I'm not coming back till I'm 100%," and then people like, "Oh no!" But
What
like,
does
come
that
on.
mean?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
here in January. We got plenty of time for him to get back, and then Scatable will be interesting too because obviously he became a fan favorite of anyone just watching
Yeah.
his style and the way he played. So he's a guy that could go maybe earlier than we think as well.
He might not be there for a long time, but it's going to be a fun time with Cam Scatteroo, just because of the way he runs, and it's just so it's angry, and he just does not. He has no regard for his body, and that's the one thing we also have to hope that Jackson Dart develops, is that he also sometimes really took those hard hits. He was in the concussion protocol a lot. He was out with concussions this year, and so you have to hope that whoever comes in there as their new head coach with a new staff, teaches him, and hopefully he learns. We know that it's not going to fully go away at him, because that's just a part of his play style, right? He's always, if he breaks away, if he has nothing in front of him, he's probably just going to tuck it and run. And so that's the one thing with Jackson Dart that we loved in fantasy football, and that's why I think he's still going to be a top draft pick this year. Inside the top 10 isn't an overreaction. I think he's going to be inside the top 10 for rankings.
Yeah, I think so too. Anytime you have a quarterback that has that rushing floor, it's just going to push you up the draft board. That's what we're all looking for. We want those running quarterbacks. Can a pocket passing quarterback have success? Yes. See Matthew
Yeah.
Stafford this year. But for the most part, when we're looking, I mean, that's why part of the reason why we love Drake May so much this year. And then, he elevated his passing as well. And look, it turned out to be one of the better picks. You saw it 2 years ago with Jaden Daniels as a rookie. That was the guy everyone was looking at because of his ability to run. So yeah, Dart just has to learn to not seek out that contact. Don't lower
Yeah.
your head in bounds. If you're at, just get out of bounds. Do not get hurt. Slide, and that is something that will be a big emphasis of the coaching staff this offseason for Dart, because you need him to stay on the field, and you can't have him going to that blue tent every single game getting checked for a
No.
concussion.
Well, and sometimes even when he was going out of bounds, he would tuck his head just to get the hit in. And it was like, what are you doing? Please stop doing that. So
McCarthy did that too in his last
I
game.
know, I know. Well, and he was so injured this year too. I mean, I don't know what we kind of know what they do, right? You can't go away from McCarthy, or do you think they're in the market? Even the free agent quarterbacks though this season are not amazing. I don't think they're ever fantastic. But this year's are a little bit, unless we see, and I wouldn't even say Tua Tagovailoa is amazing, but
No.
there are some questions with Tua Tagovailoa. Maybe if Kyler Murray is out there for teams, but it's not great. So I think they probably have to stick with JJ McCarthy.
They probably will give him a full season if he can stay healthy.
Malik Willis, maybe
Yeah, he's probably the
he's going to
most
be a big
intriguing.
one. Yeah, he's well for us in fantasy especially. We'll probably see. Well, will we see Joe Flacco again? Probably. He doesn't go away. He's like, I'll just keep making money. He turns 40. Oh, when's his birthday? Joe
Uh,
Flacco.
December 12th.
Oh, you know what? Kind of close though. January 16th.
That is close, a month
That is
away,
close. Yeah, just a month. He turns 41 January 16th.
which is Friday.
3 days. Yeah. Happy birthday, Joe Flacco, friend of the
Yeah.
show, obviously listening all the time.
Yeah,
Joe
he's
Flacco,
listening to find out where he's going to be next year.
he's like, wow, those are some good ideas. Write that down. Write that down. Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, Marcus Mariota, Malik Willis, Aaron Rodgers if he doesn't retire, and then Daniel Jones. I feel like Daniel Jones will probably go. You think they re-sign him with the Colts? They go back to him?
I guess it depends on how his rehab goes and when they expect him to be back. I mean, that's just a tough break for the Colts.
Man,
You bring Daniel Jones in, things are going well, and then he just gets hurt.
it was week 14 too, so it's not like it
Yeah.
was earlier in the season. When you get past that, it's a little bit tough. So again, free agent quarterbacks not necessarily amazing for us. Malik Willis will be interesting. I think for the rest of the NFL, they might say, we'll take a chance on it, but he definitely showed signs. Oh, and Trey Lance. I'm so sorry, Trey Lance as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
For
How
Yeah,
could
that
you
was
leave
my
him
bad. He
out?
was at the very bottom. I didn't scroll far enough. He's with the Chargers, by the way, if people forget. So Trey Lance is out there as well. So again, Harbaugh officially did go and speak with the Falcons. He's got a few others that he's going to. The Giants, it looks like the Titans, the Browns, the Raiders, and the Cardinals are all on his quote short list to see if he's going to go and talk to some of those teams. So we'll see what happens there. Again, injury wise, we're going to pay close attention to Nico Collins, see if he gets through the concussion protocol. Adam, you are already on the side of him not playing this week because that was a tough hit he took. Again, short week to get through the concussion protocol. They are traveling on the road, but that was a big injury. And then of course we're not going to have George Kittle this weekend either. I saw a quote from CMC saying that they're going to be playing for George Kittle the rest of the way, but that's going to be a big loss for this 49ers team as well. And seeing who can step up in his absence.
Yeah, I mean, Tunchus has done a solid job. He's not Kittle, right? We know
Yeah.
that for sure. And that's unfortunate. Kittle got an ovation from the Philly fans. That should tell you a lot about how Kittle is regarded. So it's always fun to watch him play. His personality, what he does on
Yeah.
the field. So yeah, it sucks to see that happen. And as far as Nico Collins, again, he already had a concussion this year in week 7, missed a week, came back in week 9, but that just did not look good. You could see it immediately
No.
hit his head, going to the
Well, you
ground.
have to be carted off.
Yeah,
for a
grabbed.
concussion.
I
It's
think
not
he was
great.
struggling even to get to the tent. And the
Ugh,
problem with this concussion
awful.
protocol is you got to get through these steps. So time is very important. And now you have one less day with it being Monday night. You got to play Sunday. I know it's the playoffs and everything, but I would be prepared to be without him. But don't worry. You can go out there and pick up Christian Kirk.
There we go. Adam's guy, Christian Kirk. You did
He's not
like
my
him
guy.
this
Well, I
year.
look,
I
in
liked
years
him this
past,
year.
I drafted him, but like I drafted him in one league this year.
I don't know. I think it was more.
No,
And
it
then
was
you had to
one.
drop him.
No, it was one. Trust
Okay,
me,
all
it was
right.
one league.
You're like, please, I did not do that.
And
Yeah,
then look, I
it's
guess Jaden Higgins has an opportunity to step
I
up.
love
Look, when
Jaden
he's been
Higgins.
given chances this year, he's
Hmm.
had some performances. It's just they took a long time to increase his snaps and give him more opportunity. But they'll need him this week.
Yeah, and Demarcus Robinson did step up for the 49ers as well. Christian McCaffrey, of course, he had the 8 targets
And
and
maybe they get
66
Ricky
receiving
Pearsall
yards.
back.
Maybe. When was the last time we saw Ricky Pearsall? I have to
What
go back
he
here
had a couple of good games right before he got hurt. Again.
again for the
Yeah,
third time
which
this
is the
year.
problem. Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah,
talk about
that was
injury
he
prone.
had that in college though too. So his last game was week 17, I guess. 5 receptions, 85 yards.
Yeah, and then even the week before that, 6 for 96.
That was week 50. He was out in week 16. I don't know why.
The
Well,
knee.
probably
Yeah.
hamstring or knee. Yeah.
No, wait, he didn't he he played
I don't have
16. Oh
I
no,
don't have
okay. He played
stats with him being
15 and no, they had a
17.
wait. He
15
missed.
and 17.
Yeah, okay.
And then he missed Indy. They had the bye week 14.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I
Mhm.
see. Yeah. So it's just unfortunate with him. Like that knee has been an issue all year. He had an ankle. He got off to a great start this year. He had 2 100-yard games in the first 3. So, but yeah, when we look at him again next year, we're going to be like, well, health has been a major problem for him.
Yeah, I didn't draft him anywhere this year. I
I
drafted more
did. I
Jauan.
actually
I know
had
you
quite a
did.
bit.
Yeah. I drafted more Jauan Jennings, and even then, that wasn't phenomenal. I mean, he had a better end of the season than he did the start. But remember, he had 17 broken ribs, 2 high ankle
18.
sprains. Oh,
No,
18,
I don't know.
right. You
Just
know? But I mean, down the stretch though, week from week 9 on, you still had some down games, 9.4, 7.5, but you had good outings from him against the Giants, against the Rams. You had a 15-point game against Carolina, 14 against Cleveland. So to start the year wasn't necessarily pretty, but if you kept him and hung on, I mean, even in the playoffs, he was a little bit of a hero to start. 19 or 18 fantasy points, 18.1 week
are
17.
you
Not so
happy
much.
where you drafted him for what he gave you? He was
I think
34th in points per game at wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean, it was in the deeper formats where I was taking him, so it was tough to find better options where I would say I'm going to put him on my bench. So I was okay with it. Again, the down games were somewhat down, like 1.7 against Tampa, 7.1, 9.4. But yeah, overall, I'm okay with it.
He had 7 touchdowns in his last 6 games.
Yeah, he returned value at the end for sure.
Yeah.
It was just at the beginning. And you thought that he was going to continue on that way because he had 19.9 fantasy points against New Orleans week 2. And then he was out, and then 6.4. He was out for a little while there. From weeks like 2 to 6, he was kind of down.
Yeah, I mean, as is the case with the 49ers, it's amazing. So
I know.
pretty much everyone on the 49ers got injured this year except Christian McCaffrey.
Which is weird, huh? What's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Which is, yeah,
You
it's
got to
kind
get
of
to, what was
ironic.
it, Germany he went to get that stem cell stuff? Is that where he
Something
went?
like that. But
Yeah.
he did that last season during the season, right? If I remember that correctly. He
Yeah.
was getting that done. So
Well, it helped prepare him to be
no,
healthy going into the year.
no kidding. He was all right there. I read the other day that the 49ers lost, like they've got $95 million on IR or something like that. It was insane. The injuries, and credit to them for being able to go this far with all those injuries too, right? You could have said early in the season that they were just going to be completely done. When we saw like Warner and all those guys, Trent Williams go down, good. Thank goodness for them that they've got Trent back. But it's been so brutal this year with how many guys have just gone down with injury. So credit to them for being able to go this far with those injuries.
Yeah, there's so many good coaching candidates for Coach of the Year, and the voting is closed before the playoffs because if it was still open, I think Shanahan might move up substantially after that performance. But I will say this, that was more Philadelphia just being absolute garbage. You're running
in their win last week.
Yeah, you're running 4 verticals on 4th down. Like, it's just there's
no, for sure.
Like and again, Salah referenced it in his press conference. He kind of knew, like, okay, it doesn't matter if I have backups. I know what this scheme is doing, and it's easy to game plan against. He didn't say that, but he was like, yeah, Barkley is it's nothing with him. But I won't comment on the scheme. So Philadelphia just there's no reason they should have lost that game. They had the better team, they had more talent, and so San Francisco was able to get it done. But it's going to be a tougher task here against a better Seattle team.
Yeah, we'll see what they're able to do. Again, fantasylife.com. That's where you can go check out all the articles that we've been talking about today. Chris Allen has a great article out right now going through the first mock draft of the offseason, seeing what the first round could look like in our fantasy drafts. We have all the Guillotine information there as well. And speaking of Guillotine, we're going to go through some of the most shot players. We're also going to go through how much we would spend, what we need to do with our fab, and the waiver wire players that could be on there, and our outlook on the rest of the playoffs. So we're going to do that here coming up next. Fantasy football is life, and Guillotine Leagues are life as well. GuillotineLeagues.com is where you can go to start a new draft for the divisional round. We've been talking about those guillotines. The fun is not over. Yes, you can start again right now. If you didn't get in on the action last week, make sure you go and do that because it is so much fun. And unless you've been chopped, then just go back, pretend it didn't happen. Adam, you didn't get chopped in any of them either, did you?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
Came
So there you
close and
go.
won.
Look at us. Yeah, I did too. Wasn't necessarily a fun time, but we got through. That was the one that I had JSN on, and now I'm in the clear.
Yeah, you got
That doesn't
fortunate
usually
there.
work out. Yes.
I wouldn't have done it myself. I just think we're going into a guillotine with only 8 roster spots, knowing that you're taking a 0 when, like I said, injuries could happen. So imagine you had JSN and Kittle and Nico Collins too. Like the chances of you surviving that very slim. So you did take a risk there, and you knew it
And
was.
it paid off.
It did. But
It did.
again, I still wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
Well,
Like
now people
next
don't
year.
have to work. Next year, I might do it again. Who knows?
Yeah,
Live on the edge.
yeah.
Thank
It
goodness
worked.
I.
It
Thank
worked
goodness
once.
it
It'll
worked.
definitely work again. That's your
Thank
motto.
goodness it worked, though, because I've got an article at fantasylife.com that said you can draft JSN and Guillotines round 1. And it did work out this week. But I will say, when you go to the app, or if you're on the website, whatever it may be, you have to take a look. You'll see all the zeros in the far right-hand column. Those are the players, obviously, that are not in the playoffs anymore. So Jalen Hurts I have on this team, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Jacoby Myers. There's some players, of course, because I don't think you drafted a perfect team that, went, with all those players 8 for 8 or whatever it is. But if you did, congrats. There's one where you only have one player that you have to pick up, Adam. That's crazy. Or you might not like who you have on that team anymore, and you might pick up a couple others. But yeah, you have to pay attention to that first.
Yeah, that is, usually pretty good. I mean, to have 7 of 8 still available, that was
Yeah.
surprising. I do have others where I have to get 3 or 4 players, and that's a challenge because you're going to have to spend some money because everyone else is too. I mean, you're going to look at other rosters, and most I think will need at least 2 to 3 players. Now, the good thing is you have an influx of players from Denver and Seattle for the most part.
Yep.
Smith and Jigba was the lone player drafted from both teams. Now, it is a little risky. Not risky, but it's not like you have the best options from those teams. Yeah, you could look at the running backs for Seattle, but we know they're going to be a headache. I don't know if you want any of the other receivers for Seattle. Now, it is a good matchup here against San Francisco, even though they only scored 13 points against them a couple weeks ago. But I think part of it was they had the lead and they could see San Francisco's offense couldn't do anything, so it allowed them to be conservative. Maybe there's a little bit more push this week. You would expect Shanahan to make adjustments based on the last matchup. And then with Denver, it's they spread it out amongst the receivers. I guess R.J. Harvey is pretty appealing. He's played a pretty big role. But then you got all those receivers where they spread it out.
Yeah, I think, for the Seahawks, it's JSN or bust. How much would you spend on JSN realistically? Everyone starts with $1,000 worth of fab. And all those players, again, when you go onto the app, when you go online, you can see players on the far right-hand side that are available. JSN should be there in a lot of them, unless you're playing in a league with someone like me that took the homer pick and made it through. But JSN's probably going to be more available than not. How much would you spend?
Ooh, that's a tough one, but you're going to spend a lot. I think, again, this is different than the regular season. We only have 3 weeks left, and you're competing against 3 other teams right now, so I think you can be very aggressive. I don't think it's crazy to go 75, 80%.
That's what I was just gonna say. I think I would spend 750, 800, like just to have him and have money available. But he feels like the big one. I feel the same way too. If you like, I feel the same way about Josh Allen. Are those not the two players? Or if Puka for whatever reason was chopped, I can't imagine
Ooh,
that he was. What?
yeah,
I
I'm
can't
sure
imagine that he was.
there has
Maybe
to
a
be a
couple,
handful of teams. Like you could
but
have
he
had Puka and then Kittle, Nico Collins. You know what I mean? So I
I
guess
would
it's
spend all my money on those three, to be honest with you. If Josh is there, if JSN, if Puka is there, I would spend 750 plus on those guys to ensure that I got them.
yeah, makes sense. At this
Yeah,
point, there's no need in saving that money. The goal is to advance this week, and yes, even if you're thin on money for the conference championships, you figure it out somehow.
exactly. Then you can go and get some guys that are still there. I'm just looking through mine. I see Josh Allen in quite a few of my leagues. I
That are
also
he's
see
available.
that he's available.
Mm.
Yeah, I see Jackson Smith and Jigba, and we're gonna get that most chopped information here in a second. But I do see a lot of JSNs, a lot of Josh Allens, and I think with those two specifically, and again, if Puka is there, you want to spend a lot of money. You know who I see a lot though is Drake May. Would he be the second quarterback that you would want if he's available or not necessarily? This is a tough Houston Texans defense. Bo Nix is obviously widely available going up against Buffalo. And then I see a lot of Caleb Williams as well. So if you, like me, I had Jalen Hurts, but I don't know if I'm going to go to Drake May immediately because just because of Houston and how we've seen this year that they can shut those quarterbacks down.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like again, Drake May has been great this year. He can run, but this is a tough matchup. You really don't want your quarterback going up against the Texans. So I would not spend a lot on him.
Yeah. You know who I see a lot over here too is Devonte Adams. Devontae going up against Chicago, that could be one where you don't necessarily have to spend everything because he might be buried for some people, but that could be an interesting play as well.
Yes, for sure. I mean, we saw that the Bears defense couldn't stop Green Bay in the first half. Then they made some adjustments, but it's still a defense that you could take advantage of. So, yeah, I think Adams is certainly a good pickup if he's available.
Anyone else from Denver, Seattle that you would spend money on? RJ Harvey, where would he would rank probably ahead for you because he does for me ahead of the Seahawks running backs right now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because he has more of a established role in his offense, and also has a matchup against Buffalo that you can run on. Because I don't know what Jacksonville was thinking in that game. Because if you just look at how effective they were on the ground, and they should have stuck with it. They averaged 6.7 yards per carry, and they just should have ran more. That was what was working, and they went to the pass a little bit too much. I don't
Yeah.
understand it. Yeah, 6.7 yards per rushing attempt, and they had 154 yards rushing,
Wow.
and they
It's
they just didn't stick with it enough. Tootin was breaking off some long runs, so you can
mhm.
run on Buffalo. That's the what we've seen. So
Oh, yeah.
you would hope that Sean Payton learns from that and says, "All right, we're going to run a lot. We're not going to ask Bo Nix to do too much. Let's hope the run game gets going with R.J. Harvey." I mean,
You
ETN had
would
10
hope.
carries. Like that, he had 10 for 67, 6.7 yards per carry. Tootin was
Hmm.
451. How do you not
Hmm.
run more?
I don't know. We were all shaking our heads, I think, watching that, to be totally honest with you. And that's why I think RJ Harvey, and he'll be available probably in all leagues
Pretty
because I
much,
don't
yeah.
think, yeah, people weren't taking him.
He didn't go in any of my drafts, and it
He
makes
didn't go in mine
sense.
either. Yeah.
I think the only player I saw from Seattle in Denver was JSN. That's it. I
Yeah.
didn't see anyone else drafted.
I think if you lost George Kittle too, that's a big conversation because again, you're gonna hope that you can find someone. Maybe Colston Loveland is out there, and he would be the one that I spend money on because he feels like the next guy that could get you the fantasy points that you need. But that George Kittle backfired, and it wasn't anyone's fault. It was just an injury that we can't predict here, and so he was my tight end or bust, right? It was Kittle or you just wait, and so I took him in a couple of leagues. I think Loveland was the difference maker last week. And so if you need some, I don't even, he's not value, but he is definitely a valuable tight end that you can go and pick up because all the other names at him I'm seeing is maybe Jake Tungus is one that you
Yeah.
go look at as well. That's another one.
I mean, look, if there's anywhere that there could be an advantage where you can maybe take advantage of the Seattle defense. It's the tight end position. That's the one position they gave up the 11th most fantasy points to tight ends. So yeah, you could look at him. You could look at Tyler Higbee. I'm sure he's out there.
Yeah.
You know, Dawson Knox, AJ Barner, Colby Parkinson. So
AJ Barner. Yeah.
I mean, look, it's a weak position, right? Loveland is clearly the best tight end on the board. And then probably Kincaid next. He didn't put up great numbers in the past game, but scored the touchdown. But yeah, I mean, tight end is just for these playoffs, it's disgusting.
It's not great. It's not fun, but Colston Loveland would be the obvious top choice in this situation if he's even out there. I don't see him in a lot of these though, to be honest with you. He might be on a lot of winning leagues.
Yeah, I have him on one of my rosters and obviously did not get chopped.
Dang.
So
why not? Come on.
Why not what?
Why weren't you chopped? You gotta let others get in
not
there.
Not gonna happen. Not in week one.
Not gonna happen.
This week maybe.
Week one. It's always nice when you get past the first week because then you're not the first one. You're like, okay, I can do this. I've got a lot of players that I have to go out and get. I had Rondé Gadsden, Tyrone McMillan on one team, Josh Jacobs, Christian Watson. Woof. Ooh,
yeah, I had a couple.
I
think I had Christian Watson on multiple teams.
I did too. I liked Tet as well, but I didn't think that they were going to win that game, but I liked him to just try and help me advance. So again, guillotineleagues.com is where you can go and sign up. We'll have more information on the most chopped players here in a little bit, but I will say Pete did a great write-up in the newsletter this morning about players that you can go and try and bid on, and the waiver wire run dates. Can you say that 5 times? I don't know why I did that. Waiver wire run dates for Guillotines in the divisional round. So the first one is Wednesday, January 14th. So that's 3 p.m. Eastern. So I would start bidding tonight, just start getting everything in a row, especially if you're in multiple leagues, so that you're in a really good place. But again, the first run is tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. The second is Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And then we have one more on Sunday, January 18th at 11 a.m. Eastern. So just make sure you keep that in mind. First one, though, tomorrow, the most important one where you can get your guys early, 3 p.m. Eastern for the first Guillotine waiver run. So make sure to lock those in. Guillotineleagues.com to start a new league. We're going to continue on, Adam. I want to continue talking through which fantasy players really bumped up their value throughout the 2025 season heading into next year. We're going to break that down coming up next. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to have Xfinity. All the games, all in one place. And here's what you get when you watch sports with Xfinity. You get that Sports Zone. Every pro football game and over 1,000 college games, highlights and alerts all in one place. You also get the multi-view. So that means you can be in up to 4 stadiums at once. The Xfinity Fan View gives you live scores, odds, and stats all in one place, personalized to you and the teams that you actually like and the teams you actually care about. And then you get enhanced 4K and that voice remote where you can just say football. Imagine all your football all in one place. Easy. Learn more at xfinity.com. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. We do try to always bring the heat. It's warm over here, by the way. We've got beautiful weather. Same with you?
Are you trying to make us jealous here?
A little bit. Well, you had a nice run last week. It was lovely.
A couple of days. Right now.
Yeah. What do you got?
43 feels like 37. It's going to be
bad.
47 at 2 o'clock and sunny. All right.
That's beautiful for this time of year.
Come on. And tomorrow.
Snow? Not to jinx it, but have you gotten snow yet?
Oh, we have.
Gotten a tough, but a bad snow or
like
no?
Twice.
Okay.
They projected it to be more than it was, but no, not too bad yet.
Okay.
So let's keep it that way.
It's 75 today, sunny.
That's
beach weather.
Damn.
I know.
I'm jealous. That's great softball weather.
I know. You could play softball year round. Think about it. You don't have to wear your
jacket.
Yeah,
but who wants to go to California and live?
Oh, yeah, it's tough out here. Again, 75, sunny and 75.
Yeah, that's about the most positive
It's actually
thing,
kind of too warm here, to be honest. It's 80 degrees tomorrow. I don't know. It's a little bit weird. Just kidding. I'm not complaining at all. It's beautiful here. Adam could play softball year round. Whatever. You don't have to.
That's the most appealing part of going to a warm weather state is to play year round because it sucks not being able to play right now.
Well, and then when you start again, it's still cold.
It is. Oh, April?
Ever.
I mean,
it's like freezing still.
The games could be awful in April. Windy, cold. Yeah. It's not fun.
Yeah, pass. Don't want to do that. So you can come over here. It's beautiful here today. I've got the most chopped list, by the way. Do you want to guess? I'm really putting you on the spot, unless you already looked.
I didn't look. Oh boy, the most chopped.
I mean, one is obvious because we've talked about it.
Kittle.
Kittle and JSN. So
Okay,
those
yeah.
Kittle was 2, and then JSN was 4.
Yeah, you got
They didn't,
lucky.
they
You
didn't have
avoided
my
that.
team. I don't know. It's all skill, Adam. It's all
I
skill.
would think Nico Collins.
He was 6. Nico Collins was. Yeah, that was
Okay.
brutal. And you should not be bidding on Nico Collins either. We can throw that out
No.
there.
I was gonna say $1, then I forgot we don't have a bench.
We don't have bench. I
Yeah.
would not be, if you are looking at, this is again for the guillotine formats. If you're bidding though, I would not. Unless we get, because I told you we have 3 waiver runs. So if we get
Yeah.
news,
But it's just
early Saturday,
the
because that's when we would know.
the problem with that is you are now clogging up a roster spot for a few days where everyone else is going to pick up the most appealing pieces on waivers, right? That's the problem.
Well, because they play the first game on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
And that's noon Eastern, so 3 p.m.
3
Eastern.
Eastern, yeah.
3
Yeah,
Eastern,
but
and these run at 11.
say even if you got Nico Collins for $1, $2, whatever, you put it a bid, everyone else said, no, I'm not taking him, and you did. Now he's sitting in your starting lineup for days. And then what's left on the waiver wire come Saturday or Sunday.
I wouldn't bid on him. I was saying bid on him on Saturday.
Oh, like if we know he's gonna play?
If we know he's gonna play, I wouldn't risk it for this first waiver run is at 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, Wednesday. We've got a second one on Saturday at 11 Eastern. We should know by then on Saturday. We should really theoretically know probably by Thursday or Friday if he's gonna go. And then I would bid maybe on that second run. If they say that he is good to go, I would put in a few dollars just to have him, but I would not do it for this first one tomorrow at all.
Yeah, no, if they announce he's going to play, which again, I think is highly unlikely, then yeah, I obviously add him. Because again, with a concussion, once you're cleared, you're cleared. It's not like a lingering hamstring injury where it can be aggravated. Concussion, you're either good or you're not. So yeah, that's a good point to pay attention to. I think we know by Friday that he's out.
I agree. If not Thursday, because if he doesn't progress, then we're probably going to know pretty quickly. Because you have to go through the stages, and if he's not out there, we are probably going to get a good idea. 2 players that also were among the most chopped in the top 10, Stephon Diggs and Drake May. I know we talked about Drake May before because it's a tough defense. Again, the Patriots are hosting the Houston Texans this weekend. But what about Jacoby Myers? Or Stephon Diggs, excuse me. Where would you have Stephon Diggs in your rankings, and would you bid on him?
I want to say yes, but again, this is a really tough matchup. You would have to think Stingley does shadow him, right? Because
yeah,
who else are you worried about? But yeah, I don't know if you could rank Diggs in the top. Is he even in the top 10 this week? I know that sounds crazy, but with this matchup,
with this matchup, probably not, right?
Yeah.
How could he be?
So yeah, I wouldn't bid very much on him.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Let me see. We have our rankings actually live at fantasylife.com for Guillotine Leagues. Shout out to Matthew Friedman getting those in so early. Oh, wow.
Where does
He's
he
got
have
him at 6.
6, that wide receiver?
Yeah. So he's got him ahead of guys like Luther Burden, Cortland Sutton, Khalil Shakir, Christian Kirk.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd probably have Sutton and Shakir ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would definitely have Sutton. I think Luther Burden's fine. And then he's got, of course, Puka Nacua, JSN. Nico is there just because we don't know yet. And then DJ Moore, Devontae Adams.
Yeah, Adams definitely has to be up there. Yeah, more.
Yeah.
More? Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. The last one I wanted to hit on here that is looks pretty available is Travion Henderson, actually. He was the 12th most chopped player this week. You bidding on Travion Henderson?
Look, here's the thing. You're probably going to have to bid on, if you have an opening at running back or flex, you're pretty much going to have to bid on almost everyone.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like, well, I don't, we're running out of bodies here that are playing. We only got, 8 teams here. So you're probably going to, it's a matter of how much do you bid on these players and then put them in order, because there are probably multiple teams that need 3 players on their squad, right?
Oh my gosh. Wait, last one. who I didn't even notice at the very top. The most chopped player this week was James Cook. How much are you
Yeah,
spending
that's
on how
right.
much are you spending on James? Is he in that range of the
Oh, yeah.
750 plus range, 80%?
Uh, yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
For sure. He had a
I
very
forgot
tough
about that.
matchup.
Yeah.
Jacksonville didn't allow any running back to go over 75 rushing yards this year, and they did it once again.
Yeah.
So I know
Totally
Denver.
missed him at the top.
I do know Denver has allowed the fewest fantasy points to the running back position too. So yeah, they have not allowed. They've allowed one 100-yard rusher. That was Jonathan Taylor back in week 2. And since then, they've allowed 73 rush yards is the
Wow.
most they've allowed to any running back. It was Jacobs, though,
Wow.
12 for 73.
James Cook, most chopped player in guillotines this week, and he was chopped in 29% of leagues. Wow, that's a lot. And then the second most was one George Kittle, unfortunately. So again, guillotineleagues.com to go start a new league, fantasylife.com to go see all of our rankings, all of our write-ups for the Guillotines. We're going to finish things off breaking down the early lines again for the divisional round. We've got a little bit of news on Bryce Young as well. We're going to break that down here coming up next. Fantasy Life right here with you on this Tuesday. We appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Again, we are going to start breaking down the divisional round and going through the early lines and what we've seen. But first, we got a little bit of news here, Adam, from the other Adam Schefter, of course, saying that Panthers GM Dan Morgan said today in a presser that Carolina does plan to pick up the fifth-year option for former number 1 overall pick Bryce Young, which is probably what we expected to happen. I think we had the overreaction Monday question of, is he going to get a top 10 quarterback contract this offseason? And it was like, no, probably not, because they have the option for 2026 and 2027 to be able to do this. So they basically have him for 30 million over the next 2 years when we're looking at it. And then it gives them the opportunity to kind of decide, what they're going to do with him. They make him prove it again. Let's see you continue to develop with this team. They don't have to go into this offseason and make as many changes as we've had to see them do in the past, right? Dave Canal is now going into his 3rd year with the Panthers. So, again, we probably expected this, but it looks like they are going to be picking up the 5th-year option for Bryce Young.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either. They're coming off a division title, even though they backed into it and they got a home playoff game, and he did play pretty well in that. This stat I thought was surprising: 6 game-winning drives in the 4th quarter or overtime this year.
Really?
Yeah,
For
and in
Bryce?
one-score
Wow.
games, his passer rating was 3rd in the league behind Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. So you can take stats, and they always put him in your favor. Yeah, they had to do this, right? You mentioned the quarterback market, what's out there. So uh, I don't think he's the answer still. Like if you're talking about taking you to that next level in the Super Bowl, but I mean, how many quarterbacks are?
At least they're giving him time, right? Sometimes we
Yeah.
see organizations that just don't get it done early or quick enough for some people's likings, and then they're in QB, they're just on the quarterback carousel and they don't figure it out. So again, I think this is the safest way to do it. Bryce Young still has to prove himself. This doesn't mean that he's in line to get the next big contract, but this does mean that maybe if he's able to put together a better season next year, then he's in line for a little bit more money. So he did everything he could to try to keep up this season. He threw a little over 3,000 yards, 23 touchdown passes, 11 interceptions, and like you said, division champs. Even though yes, at 8 and 9 they were division champions, but still, you got to take what your division gives you, and that's what they did. And again, this is a team that has a few question marks, especially for us on offense with fantasy. Rico Dowdle seems like he's going to be on the move. Chuba Hubbard was signed to that extension last year. So we'll see if he is able to eventually get a long-term deal done. But Bryce Young, more of another prove-it year for him. So there you go. And maybe we draft more Tedero McMillan next year. I don't know. He'll probably stay in the same range for me in drafts and rankings, because I don't know if
And
I'm going to see a huge step up from Bryce Young.
Jalen Coker.
And the Cokeheads
Yeah.
unite.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course,
They
of
did not
course.
like seeing that because now that just puts him on the radar.
Exactly.
Not that he's going to be
He's going to be cheap.
expensive, but yeah,
No,
there's a
he'll go 10
there's a
around
Coker
10
hive
plus.
there.
Yeah, there we go. We're gonna divisional round games and just our expectations. Again, we went through some odds. I think it's pretty in line. I think, some of the best games of the weekend though, Seattle, I'm biased, Seattle, San Francisco, Buffalo and Denver though, I think is a big question mark. And I'm really excited to see this one because again, Broncos are just supposed to be, and they do have the best defense in the NFL. You've got a total that's opened up at 46.5. I think the Broncos were favored 1.5. It might have flipped, but yeah, that'll be a fun one.
I could see this being similar to the Jacksonville Bills game where the Bills opened up as the favorites and Jacksonville closed as the favorites. Obviously, turned out
Okay.
to be wrong. I could see the Bills closing as the favorite here.
I think the big question with Denver is the Broncos offense ready to do its part? Because we know that their defense can keep them in games, but we also know that Josh Allen has the playoff experience, and I think that comes into play when we get further down the road in these playoffs. That we've said it last week, he can put on the superhero cape, and he is capable of taking that team to a Super Bowl, even if we know that they have huge holes in the offense, on the defense especially as well. So I think that's the big question with Denver for me is can the offense really step up and can Bo Nix do his part as well?
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. They played so many close games, one possession games, where in the playoffs, the magnitude increases, the pressure, and those errors become more critical. It determines games. Unless you're CJ Stroud and your defense carries you.
Yeah, there you go. Then you can do that. We appreciate everyone hanging out with us. You got RotoWire Fantasy Sports today coming up next. We'll be with you same time here tomorrow. Enjoy your day. We'll see you then.